Friday, October 28th, and this is an end of the day and end of the week SPY recap. And you can see here, first of all, on the daily chart, we end up with a pretty nice green day to the upside that right out of the gate started up and continued up all day. We were kind of near the bottom of this little consolidation area, these 2 days that really were small days. And you can see here right out of the gates on the 15-minute chart, we went above the pre-market highs, first big 15-minute bar, paused a little bit, and then started up. So any buy in here worked out. The stops are always the midpoint of that first bar, in terms of seeing if you can get a directional move. Then once you started up, there wasn't even an orderly pullback for a secondary trade. It was just up all day long. And, at this point, when you look at the first bar here, that kind of moved up pretty strongly. At that point, it was above the midpoint of the prior day, and so you had a lot of things to just be on the long side all day. I traded Apple and Amazon. There were other stocks that you could have looked at. You could have went with the index itself, and eventually it moved up and had a 2-up day, and then it reached its target here, which was 2 days ago after the 2-up, 387. It looks like if we look at this broadening action we've been drawing for a long time since this green bar here, that we're still continuing to the potential top of whatever, megaphone kind of line exists. Also, if you zoom it out, we talked about how this could be a powerful rally up here, that within even in a downtrend, we had a big channel forming that you could rally strongly, and it looks like we're getting to the top of that area in terms of, like even here we had a big rally and eventually we turned down, and we're moving up now to the top of a big trend line in the bigger picture. It doesn't mean we immediately turn down from there. What you're going to have to do at this point is, and I was looking at it, this environment right here, since we've been heading up, on the weekly chart, you have a 2-up week, and now next week with a big green bar, you should at least test a little higher. That's very similar to like this environment where you're getting 2-up, 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 4 weeks in a row. The question is, what do you do on those kind of days, and what's going to eventually turn it around? So you're back to kind of this kind of mode in the daily charts. When you have the 2-up week going, you're just looking for little red pullbacks to kind of, those are the ideal signals to get long. Once you find them, here's a red pullback long, red pullback long, red pullback long, and eventually this red pullback in here formed what was a weekly reversal bar, and that obviously was the start of anything down. So at this point on the weekly chart, I'm just going to have to look for a weekly reversal before I really get comfortable going lower. It could be a quick move up, maybe early in the week, that then moves below the halfway point of this week. It could be a very small weekly bar that ends up with a 2 down bar. I mean, there's a whole bunch of ways it could develop, but that's going to be the sign at this point that we eventually might roll over to the downside and then see what happens from there. And you are a little extended. I mean, even with these trades all along the way, at some point it was extension, exhaustion risk, but there are still opportunities until you really get the clear signal. So we'll be looking for that on the weekly chart. Finally, on the monthly chart, we 1 day to go. Whether Monday closes up again and really stays green for October, or we go a little bit lower, it's going to be a green enough month where I think we're going to get a little follow through into November. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe we get just a very little follow through on new highs and then can't reach our target, which is up here in November, and then roll over to the downside. Or as long as it continues on a 2-up month, you're going to project up there. So in other words, it's going to take all of November to find out if we fail to move up there, and that could and seasonally, I guess, into December. Well, who knows? I'm not going to get into the seasonal stuff. So at this point, we want to just expect a little follow through higher sometime in November. But it doesn't mean, if we close a little down on Monday, maybe we get that move on Tuesday and Wednesday. Maybe we close up on Monday and then get the follow through on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we go down Thursday, Friday. I mean, in other words, there's a lot of different scenarios about how we're going to make a new high into November, whether it occurs immediately to start the month or maybe after, a little bit into the first week in some form after a little pause and then a move up. But at some form, we're going to probably break whatever high exists in October into November. So we'll just continue to monitor the monthly chart and see, we'll know what the open of the month is. Kind of like we knew, I had this green line here. This was the open of October. And as long as after a little bit of consolidation, once we headed up, I was always monitoring for that area to be taken out to get negative, and it never did. So once we get the open of November, it'll be on Tuesday, we'll keep that line in mind, and we'll determine if for above or below it to kind of have the continuity, you know, for November going on. But anyway, we expect to go a little higher at some point. That's kind of the point there. Again here, weekly chart, I really want to see that turn down in some form before I get too negative. And, you know, with the big strong close here, you know, you do expect a little higher even, you know, into Monday a little bit. And we're coming to an interesting area where you could get a turn, but I don't want to predict it or do anything until it actually develops, especially on the weekly chart. So again, very easy day of trading. Upside today. Was it a surprise? I guess a little bit, you know, just given I thought maybe after this red bar we'd go a little lower into this gap. But again, that's why I use opening price action in the pre-market range to judge everything. You have your expectations, but then when you see something like this, you realize, well, we're in, you know, for the broadening action back to the upside, which is always in play. So, you know, anything can happen on any given day. Who knows if we gap down, you know, 500 points on Monday? I have no idea. But anyway, kind of an easy day to trade today. We have what we're looking for in the big picture. We're going to stay on the long side for now, knowing there's some exhaustion risk. And eventually, if we get some kind of a reversal bar like this, it'll be real exciting to aggressively get short. But at this point, you just kind of want to play it day by day, and we'll see, you know, what develops as October comes to an end.